Okay, so welcome all. This is Mass Creative's Policy and Action webinar, or excuse me, Policy and Advocacy webinar. It is April 14th, and I am really pleased that I'm going to immediately hand it over to Rich Lean with an update on our community organizing efforts.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you all so much for being here with us this morning. As Emily said, my name is Rich Lean, and I'm the Director of Organizing for Mass Creative. For those of you who I haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, welcome. And for those of you who are joining us this month, welcome back. We're super excited to have you guys with us this morning.
All right.
So an update since our last conversation, Mass Creative has been up to some pretty good, cool things. We've had the opportunity to visit the Berkshire, Central Mass, the North Shore, and the Cape in the past month with Mass Cultural Council to honor and celebrate the different organizations and individuals who receive a Mass Cultural Council grant. And that was a really good opportunity that we enjoy meeting and being in community with everyone through. We also met with Governor Healy, Office of Constituent Services and Community Affairs, where we had conversation regarding how they can be more proactive in being in community with us, as well as like closing the gap between that office and the creative sector. We also finalized our Creative Advocacy 101 training that's going to be taking place starting in May. May 2nd is the last day for everyone to apply to sign up to be a part of the training. The link is in the bios, is in the chat. So please, if you haven't signed up, or if you know someone who should sign up, please send them the link. They have until May 2nd. It takes less than 5 minutes to complete the sign up sheet. I'm super excited. We have incredible trainers coming. We have an amazing group of panelists coming. And I'm just so excited for everybody to experience it with us. So May 2nd is the deadline. Please have everybody you know, or if yourself are interested, to please sign up. It is going to be taking place in the morning from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every Friday starting May 19th. So if you want more information, please feel free to email me as well after this, or to drop in the chat that you want to connect one-on-one, and I'll reach out to you about it. Lastly, we also hired an incredible group of young interns that's going to be joining us this summer, and we're so excited for them. We have so many amazing things that we have in place for them in ways that they could help us close the gap between the younger age group, as well as like the social media aspect of the work that we hope to do, organizing and advocacy work that we hope to do at Mass Creative. So I'm so excited to welcome them aboard. Hopefully the next meeting, the next couple of meetings that we have coming up, they are able to join and say hello to you all. So I'm really excited for that. The next 30, I want to also talk about the next 30 day and what that looks like for Mass Creative through our advocacy and organizing lens. We are hoping to attend a lot more community events, especially since the weather has been so beautiful the last week. We're hoping it stays as beautiful, not as hot, but a little bit cold, a little bit warmer than usual. So we're appreciating that, and we hope that means that it's an opportunity to be in community with you all. So if your team or community is putting on an event, please let us know. I signed up for everything, so if it's not a conflict with something else I have on the schedule, like send it my way, and I'm more than happy to be in community with you. So send that our way, and we'll be more than happy to be to show up, either all of us or one of us or a representative or our intern. I know our interns are really excited as well to be in community this summer. So if you have an event that you need support, like let us know. We'll come. The other thing as well, by the next 60 days, we are expecting to wrap up our first 2 sessions of the creative advocacy training. The first 2 sessions will be targeting what kind of activist are you, identifying yourself within the organizing world, and how do you want to show up in your community. And then the second session will be targeting how to build in community and create sustainable impact. So I'm really excited for those 2 sessions to come around and to be wrapped up. The next thing we're going to be doing, we will be coordinating a coffee hour with the new legislative class on behalf of the sector. So all the elected officials that are newly elected as of the last year, we want to have a coffee hour with them, let them know who we are, what we do, how to get connected to the rest of the sector, the policies that we're trying to push for on behalf of the sector. We're really excited because we already reached out to some of them, and they're super engaging with us, and there's an interest there. So we're taking advantage of it, and we're really excited for that. So that's the last report I have. Do I have one more? Oh, actually, we have one more. We are going to be rebranding and reintroducing the Create the Vote program and fellowship that Mass Creative have. That fellowship is going to be centered around the election cycle coming up in the Commonwealth. We thought that it would be really important for different members all across the Commonwealth to be able to come together for this fellowship. We've done it before. We know how impactful it could be. And I think it's just an amazing opportunity for organizers in the creative sector to really push for legislators who understand the impact that the creative sector have on the creative economy, as well as the value that we bring to the Commonwealth. So I'm excited to bring this back and to reintroduce it in a new light. So be on the lookout for that in our new upcoming meeting as well. That's the last bit of report that I have for the advocacy and organizing aspect of what we do here, but I'm grateful to be in community with you all this morning.
Thanks, Richleen. Y'all, I'm really excited about this advocacy training that Richleen is putting together, and the folks that we have that are going to participate as trainers and as panelists. So don't sleep on this. So next up, I'm going to do some updates on policy and government action. So the headline is, right, we're in budget season. The governor released her budget that included $25 million for the Mass Cultural Council's line item, which would be both their operations and their grant programs. And so on Wednesday, the House Ways and Means released their version, and it included $25 million for the Mass Cultural Council operations and grant programs. That is amazing. Right? Like, just for context, I'm genuinely having a hard time thinking about a moment where we didn't have to, that the agency didn't make the ask. They requested 25 million, and we didn't have to do some sort of a push to get that number up, particularly in the House that tends to always go a little bit lower than the Senate. So this is amazing news. And this is absolutely a result of having a strong supporter in the executive branch, in the governor's office, having folks in the House who understand our issues because you all have explained them to them, having really, I think, great advocates in Chair Dom, who's chair of Tourism, Arts, and Cultural Development. These things all matter, and they all move along to get us to this place. So this is a great moment for us. So yay for us, right? Yay for the sector. So here's what's going to happen next, right? So as I said, the House budget was released on Wednesday. We're now in House debate, and debate basically is when reps can file amendments. Already, you can see that if we're popping links up in the chat that you can follow along with, but already as of this morning, there have been 15 amendments filed to earmark the Mass Cultural Council budget line item. And the trick here is like, we always see earmarks. They're part of the process. That makes sense. This is part of the job of reps to make sure that their constituents are being listened to and being cared for. But the thing that's a little tricky here is that there's two ways that these amendments and these earmarks could go. The first way is that when the final version of the budget comes out from the House, it's 25 million for the agency's grant programs and operations. And on top of that, an amount of money that is for all of those earmarks. Okay, so that means that core 25 million is still available, and there still would be an increase from last year, right? Last year was at 23 million. And there was only about 22.5 million available for grants and operations, right? So it would mean an increase for all grant programs, right? The other way it could go is that those earmarks get folded into that 25 million. And I'm pretty sure that if you calculate all of those earmarks, it's going to have a significant dip in the amount of money available to the agency for grant programs and operations. Okay. So we're paying attention to that. And that's something that you all can pay attention to. We'll probably write a note to Chair Michaelwitz of House Ways and Means and to Speaker Mariano's office saying we are incredibly thankful for the 25 million and that we urge them when they are considering earmarks and amendments to go on top of that 25 million. That's a message you can also share with your legislators, right? We don't always just have to ask for things. We can also thank them. So Kelsey will introduce our new website a little later on, but one of the things we actually have in our website now is you can look up all of your elected officials and you could write them a note, right? Not a pre-written note, but you could just jot them a little note and say like, hey, I saw that the House Ways and Means budget came out. It's 25 million for the Mass Cultural Council. This is really meaningful to me, to my organization, to my artist network of friends and community. Thank you, right? That is an important part of this process too. So do consider doing that. Once there's a deadline for those amendments to be filed, once those are filed, they're going to be organized into categories. They'll be bundled for consideration and for passage or not for passage. And then a final version of the House budget will be passed and sent to the Senate. And I assume, Kelsey, I'm going to have you like step in here for a second. We're thinking timing wise, and I also, not to call him out, but Derek, who is the research director for the Tourism, Arts, and Cultural Development Committee, may know this too. We sort of assume that the budget will be considered in 2 weeks, right? Like that'll be passed. Next week is school vacation week. And so the week after we'll see the House in session all those days, going through all those amendments and passing them or not, and then passing the final version. I'm seeing.
Yeah, that's correct. I was going to call on Derek as well. So you just do that. Sorry, Derek. So the deadline to file amendments to the House Ways and Means budget should be today at 5 p.m. And then next week, the House will be in a brief recess to observe April vacation for many of the legislators and their staff who have kids who are off next week. At the same time, staff will be busy summarizing and making sense of the thousands of amendments that will likely get filed. And then the House budget debates will kick off the following week. I don't have my calendar handy, but that would be, if you can give me one moment. So Monday, the 24th is when that would get started. And that's also roughly the same time when we would get more information from House leadership about the order in which different categories of the budget will be bundled and then will be debated and voted upon. So for example, there will be a bundle that comes out on health and human services, and then a separate bundle that would come out about education. It's usually a grouping of like categories. So somewhere in all of that, we would get the Mass Cultural Council line item and any affiliated earmarks too. So that information will come out closer to the 24th. But in the meantime, next week is an excellent time to do, as Emily said, reach out to your legislator and thank them for their support. And then you might get information back from your legislator, depending on whether or not they filed smaller earmarks for an arts and culture organization in their district, about how you can advocate for that. So it's a great opportunity to be engaged with them in their office.
Thanks, Kelsey. And thanks, Derek, for your supportive, your thumbs up. Okay.
Yeah, anytime, Emily.
And so we can expect, unless some, some global event happens, that the House will have their budget done and passed over to the Senate by the end of April. And then the process will start all over again. So next, I want to talk about a couple of pieces of legislation. So earlier in March, a supplemental budget was filed and passed and signed into law by Governor Healy. And in it, in the outside section, it included something that most of you who are part of nonprofit organizations should be aware of, which is there's a change to the open meeting law. So before, technically, right, before the pandemic, in order to consider a board member present, for a board meeting, whether it's a regular board meeting, an annual board meeting, or a specially convened board meeting, they had to be in person, okay? During the pandemic, Governor Baker filed his emergency order, and it lifted that restriction. So it allowed nonprofit organizations to hold their meetings virtually, right? So, but that emergency order is over. And so there, in this bill, there's now a language change to the law that allows nonprofit organizations to hold virtual, hybrid, or in-person board meetings. That means that if a board member attends virtually, they are considered as present as a board member who is physically attending that board meeting, and they can vote on any items that come up for consideration. Why does this matter? I think we can put this into the category of this is about geographic equity, right? So if you have an organization and you're really trying to like figure out how to get more people to join your board, to be part of the conversation, being able to remove that barrier of having to be in person, whether it's they can't travel as frequently, their schedules don't allow them to take off maybe the time to travel to the board meeting and travel back during their workday, all of a sudden that shifts, and that's a permanent shift. However, we really recommend that you consider looking at your organization's bylaws and governance rules and making some adjustments to it so that that is clearly allowed in your organization's bylaws. We wrote a little summary of this. It is on our new website. That's in the chat. But we hope this is, again, like another way that we can update you on how a lot of legislation actually affects parts of our creative sector. Speaking of, there's a tax relief bill moving through the legislature right now. And so Governor Healy filed it, and yesterday the House passed it. And this has a lot of really interesting parts that will definitely have an impact on members of the arts and cultural sector. So first of all, 62F, which was a ballot question that was passed or voted by residents in the Commonwealth in the 80s, that created this like tripwire, which was if revenues for the state reached a certain level, automatically the state had to issue tax refunds, right? And we've, as a Commonwealth, we've hit that only twice. Last year we hit it. Okay. And so what they've done in this tax relief bill is they've reformed that a little bit. So the way that it was originally written and the way that it was put into law and implemented is that those tax refunds were based on a percentage of your income, right? So which meant is if you had higher income, you were going to get more money back. And the House yesterday, when they passed and they included a provision which would make it not based on income percentage. It would be more equitable, and so that everyone would receive a little bit of that refund coming back. The other thing that it will do, that this version will do, is it will increase the earned income tax credit. So for those of you who aren't aware, the earned income tax credit is a tax credit. It's a federal program for folks who have income under $59,173. So if you are below that as an annual income, you receive a tax credit. And tax credits are different than tax deductions. Tax deductions lower your tax liability. Tax credits actually provide you with money, right? So you don't have to, it doesn't say like, okay, you'd have to pay a little bit less. It says like, you're going to get this much back, right? So what this does is in Massachusetts, we also have an earned income tax credit, and it will increase the amount that folks will get back as a credit from 30% of the federal EITC to 40%. Why does this matter? This matters because there are a lot of people in our sector who are making under $59,000 a year. And so this is an important piece about how our sector and the workers, creative workers within our sector can continue to do their work and be part of this conversation, right? The other thing that it will do, the House bill, is that there will be a family and child and family tax credit. Governor Healy increased the amount. She wanted to say that in the first year, it would go to $600 each year for each child under 13, or for each year for a dependent adult who's over 65 or with a disability. The House decided that they're going to phase it in. So it'll be, I think it's like $320 in the first year, $420 in the second year. And by 2026, it'll get to $600 for each year for each dependent. The other thing that it will do, this bill, and this is a quick summary, there's a longer summary. There's also, we've included a link to the actual bill, but low-income seniors can claim $2,400 in a state tax credit for their property taxes or for rent. And then renters can claim $4,000 in the state tax deduction. So these are all hopefully ways, particularly within our sector, that we can keep creative workers in Massachusetts and in our communities and continuing to do creative practice or be arts administrators or participate in the creative economy. All right. So that's it for me. Kelsey, I'm turning it over to you.
Great. Thank you, Emily. So hi, everyone. I'm Kelsey. For those of you who I have not met yet, I'm the new Director of External Relations at Mass Creative, meaning I am your go-to person in the organization for any questions about communications or storytelling. And then you will most certainly hear from me at some point regarding development work. But today I'm really just here to talk about the website and rebrand, which we launched publicly this week. And we're really, really excited about this. It's been a true labor of love for, well, for me, since I started at the beginning of this year, only a few months, but for Emily and others, significantly longer than that. So we're just happy to share this new resource with you. Emily, if you could go to the next slide. Thank you. And also I will be dropping links related to the website and different features of the website in the chat after I'm done my piece. So welcome. There's a good chance that if you're following us on social media, you've already seen posts about the website and links to our new website. And if you are following us on social media, you've probably also seen our brand new logos, which are displayed on all of our social media platforms. We have not really discussed this with our members yet. You'll hear more about this soon, but Mass Creative is celebrating 10 years of advocating for the creative sector in Massachusetts. And with that, it was just an appropriate time for us to think about, well, to celebrate, one, everything that we've accomplished, including steadily increasing the Mass Cultural Council line item in the state budget, but then two, where are we headed from here as an organization and how does our public interface reflect that? So we were able to complete this project thanks to support from the Mass Cultural Council and then the brilliant design work of Jasmine Tudor, and Drea Hudson, who is on our board. So we're very grateful to Drea, as well as development work by Tyler Barnett. The premise for the new website is we wanted to make it easier for all of you to be able to navigate the different things that we are working on through Mass Creative, in addition to things we want to build upon and continue to work on. It is people oriented. So you'll notice on all of our graphics and each of our pages that we've got people who are in motion featured and people who are practicing their craft. At the same time, we preserved the floating triangles, which were popular from our last website, or at least we really loved them from the last website, wanted to carry them over. So we've got the people component, and it's bold and it's dynamic and the triangles are moving and the website is floating and moving with you. So we're very pleased with the layout. And then additionally, Emily, if you could move to the next slide. Thank you. So you'll find tabs for all of the main things that Mass Creative does and will continue to, again, build upon the architecture of the website as we expand our operations. But you should easily be able to find the Create the Vote campaign sites and any information related to that. You can also easily find information related to our legislative agenda, which we talked about during our last policy and action update webinar. Mass Creative is working with a historic for us number of legislative sponsors. We've got 5 bills in the hopper this session that we're really excited about. So not only can you read up about those bills on our website, but there will be more information too about resources such as fact sheets that you can then share with your boards and with your patrons and with your legislators, so we can together build up support for these things that will have a real-time impact on our sector. You can also see more information about the team that is making Mass Creative work. So there are bios on the three of us, should you care or be interested in reading about our backgrounds, in addition to our board members. And then as we bring on hopefully another full-time person and interns, you'll be able to see information about those individuals too, so you can see exactly who's working on your behalf. And something I love too, or a feature that I love, is which part of the state they represent. So if you look through the information for our board members, you'll see that we have people representing parts of the North Shore and the Cape and Boston and Western Mass, and it's very diverse in that respect, which we love. And then there's, in addition, information about how to directly contact your legislators, how to find out who your legislators are, how to do simple or complete simple calls to action when things like, I don't know, getting $25 million from the House Ways and Means budget comes up. We do want to make sure that we are expressing our gratitude to House leadership. And there are forums for you to be able to quickly send a note saying, thank you, this is awesome, let's keep working on this together. Not in those words, but that's the gist. And then, of course, we're a nonprofit organization, right? So there are also features to give to Mass Creative to support all of this work, and to see who else is already giving to Mass Creative and is already invested in this work. Next slide, if you don't mind.
I think this is.
I think that's it for me.
Yeah. Thanks, Kelsey. We're really excited, and I, obviously this was a lot of work on our part, but we're really hoping that it makes a difference in terms of all of your advocacy work and your and organizing work for the creative sector. So we love a feedback loop as you're going. If you find things you're like, oh my gosh, this is great, thank you so much for this resource, or I'm confused, I can't find something, please let us know. We want to help you and we want to direct this, and we want to make sure that this website is usable for all of you, first and foremost. As you know, we moved our policy in action webinars to once a month, the second Friday of the month, and we've added an open house. We had our first open house last Friday, and it was a small but mighty group. And what was great is we actually got to do some troubleshooting and learn about some advocacy and organizing needs in Haverhill. And so I really encourage you to join this drop-in session. It's a way for you to meet and connect with more arts advocates across Massachusetts. Also, we're here, we can problem solve with you. I think that conversation in that open house ended up becoming a little bit more, and we're actually going to go do a site visit in Haverhill. So please do consider joining those. Don't forget to register for our creative advocacy series. We're super excited about that coming up. And then finally, our next policy in action webinar will be May 12th. And you now can register for all of these glorious events right on our website. So you don't have to click through 27 different links. You can just go to events and you can find them all there. Finally, it is so great to see all of you. We actually have a little bit, we're scheduled to go until 10:30. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I just want to check in and see if folks have questions or comments or want to make sure the group knows of anything that's happening. The floor is all of yours.
Hi, this is Margot from New Bedford Creative. Congratulations, the website looks great. I was just scrolling through. It is so much easier to manage. I'm wondering, you may have said this, Kelsey, who did you work with on this? Who were the design consultants or website consultants?
Sure. So we worked with Jasmine, she also goes by Jazz Tudor, and Tyler Barnett. And then we also pulled in Drea Hudson, who is locally based and is on our board to help with the consulting.
Thanks, it looks great.
I'm dropping Jasmine Tudor's website right into the chat. She and Tyler are just phenomenal to work with, and we highly endorse you reaching out. and working with her. We love her and we love them. Yep. So Joelle wrote in the chat that would like to have access to the PowerPoint slide. We agree. You should have access to the PowerPoint slide. So you can expect either Monday or Tuesday that the recording of the webinar, as well as the slide deck and all the links we provided, will be up on our website for easy resource, and we'll send out a summary to our members so that you can like quickly access all of those items. But thank you for reminding us to tell you all that that is what we're going to do. Great. Well, thank you all so much for being a part of this webinar this morning. It's good to see your faces. I hope you have something low aerobically planned for today, because it's going to be very hot, but that you get to go outside and enjoy the sunshine. As always, Kelsey, Richleen, and I are always here, and we are ready to partner with you. So thanks so much. Bye, y'all.